Hello everyone, Rorius here. Today we are doing the developer commentary for Portal 2 that I said I was going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a full run through of the game, as though we're just playing it normally, but I'm including the little developing commentary bubbles, speech bubbles that they have all around the levels. And yeah, we're going to just talk about the game, play the game, and listen to what Valve has to say about their own game. Alrighty, let's get straight into it. Developer commentary.
Good morning. You have been in suspension for 50 days. In compliance with state and federal regulations, all testing candidates in the Aperture Science Extended Relaxation Center must be revived periodically for a mandatory physical and mental wellness exercise. You will hear a buzzer. When you hear the buzzer, look up at the ceiling.
We'll let the intro go through.
Good. You will hear a buzzer. When you hear the buzzer, look down at the floor. Good. This completes the gymnastic portion of your mandatory physical and mental wellness exercise. There is a framed painting on the wall. Please go stand in front of it.
I think this will be a good point. Hopefully, the announcer will stop talking for a second, and we can listen to the...
Hi, my name is Gabe Newell, and welcome to Portal 2. When we released the original Portal in 2007, it was an experiment to see how gamers would respond to a different kind of gameplay and storytelling experience. Portal went on to win a bunch of awards, sell many copies, and, most importantly, resonate with gamers in a way that no other Valve title has. The challenges for us in building Portal 2 were to live up to people's expectations, to take you back to the world of Chell and Aperture Science, and to surprise gamers again, not with more of the same, but with more of the new. And I think it will be, mostly, a pleasant surprise. To listen to a commentary node, put your crosshair over the floating commentary symbol and press your use key. To stop a commentary node, put your crosshair over the rotating node and press the use key again. Some commentary nodes may take control of the game in order to show something to you. In these cases, simply press your use key again to stop the commentary. Please let me know what you think after you've had a chance to play Portal 2. I can be reached at gaben@valvesoftware.com. I get about 10,000 emails each time we release a game, and while I can't respond to all of them, I do read all of them. Thanks, and have fun.
There is a framed painting on the wall. Please go stand in front of it.
What I find funny is that this is the very first game, as far as I recall, where Gabe Newell stopped saying, you can reach me at gaben@valve.com.
There's a framed painting on the wall.
Shush!
Please go stand in front
listen
of
to
it.
this one.
The writers went back and forth over whether or not Wheatley had tried.
Oh god, that's the third one. No, we'll do the second one.
The idea of being stuck forever in a state of stasis that looked like a crappy old motel room had been in our minds for a long time, but we weren't sure exactly how we wanted to rip you out of it. There was some debate over whether the opening sequence happened inside the player's head or not. There was an alternate opening where Aperture had hooked up all of its cryo-stored test subjects to an incredibly boring hotel room simulator, which Wheatley would then wake the player from. Eventually, this was discarded as too difficult to explain in the short time allotted, and we opted to change the hotel room to a container ride on a rail. This allowed us to show the player, rather than tell them, about how they and other test subjects have been stored, show some of the scale of the facility, and even hint at how much time has passed. We also get to gradually reveal all of this through the destruction of the container itself as it moves and bangs into things. Overall, this gives the player a much more dynamic and visceral introduction to Portal 2.
Yeah. I think the staring at the painting thing already happened while we were listening. So I'll just do
The
this.
writers went back and forth over whether or not Wheatley had tried escaping with other test subjects before waking the player up. It was an interesting idea, and you can still hear remnants of the story arc in some of the dialogue. But at the end of the day, it was just too expansive a concept to sell. So it's hinted at, but not overtly mentioned until the end.
Yeah. Alright, let's stare at the art. I think that might have already happened. Did the music already play as well? Okay, music already played as well. So yeah, we're gonna miss a few of the story elements doing the developer commentary, but
You have been in suspension for 9.
the intention is to listen to the developer commentary pieces.
Hello?
Anyone in there?
Subject should vacate the enrichment
Hello?
center immediately. Any test subject
Are you
non-emergent
gonna open that? Ah! Oh God, you look
Great.
looking
You
good
look
actually.
good.
Are you okay? Are you? Don't answer that. I'm absolutely sure you're fine. There's plenty of time for you to recover. Just take it slow.
Please prepare for emergency evacuation.
Stay calm. Stay calm. Prepare. That's all I'm saying. Prepare. It's all fine. All right. Don't move. I'm gonna get us out of here. Oh, you might want to hang on to something. Word of advice. Up to you.
The scene is really cool. I think they'll explain quite a bit about it outside of this box,
You all
because
right down there?
it'd be pretty hard to
Can
do
you hear
the
me?
development commentaries
Hello?
inside this box. So
Most test subjects do experience some cognitive deterioration after a few months in suspension. Now, you've been under for quite a lot longer, and it's not out of the
You're
question
Indian.
that you might have a very minor case of serious brain damage. But don't be alarmed, all right? Although if you do feel alarmed, try to hold on to that feeling, because that is the proper reaction to being told that you've got brain damage. Do you understand what I'm saying at all? Does any of this make any sense? Just tell me, just say yes.
it normally says press space to say yes.
Okay, what you're doing there is jumping. You just jumped. But never mind, say apple. Apple.
And then it's, of course, again says press space to say apple.
Okay, you know what? That's close enough. Just hold tight.
I love that. I love
reactor
that
core
sequence.
safeguards are
But I
now
don't have the
non-functional.
I don't have the
Please
hints
prepare for reactor
on
core
anymore.
meltdown.
So it never comes up.
Okay, look, I wasn't going to mention
love
this to
this
you,
sequence.
but I'm in pretty hot water here. How you doing down there? You still holding on? The reserve power ran out, so of course the whole relaxation centre stops waking up the bloody test subjects. Hold on, this is a bit tricky. And of course, nobody tells me anything. No, why should you tell me anything?
You get really
Why
thrown
should I be
around the
kept
room. It's so
informed?
cool.
You know, about the life functions of the 10,000 bloody test subjects I'm supposed to be in charge of. Why? It's close. Can you see? Am I gonna make it through? Have I got enough space? Just gotta get through here. Okay, I just gotta concentrate. And whose fault do you think it's gonna be when the management comes down here and finds 10,000 flipping vegetables?
Flippin' vegetables.
Alright, see, no, I hear that one. I hear that one.
He just like crashes.
Okay, listen, we should get our story
knocks them
straight,
all
alright?
over.
If anyone asks, and no one's going to ask, don't worry, but if
It's a
anyone
domino.
asks, tell them as far as you know, the last time you checked, everyone looked pretty much alive, alright? Not dead. Okay, almost there. On the other side of that wall is one of the old testing tracks. There's a piece of equipment in there that we're going to need to get out of here. I think this is a docking station. Get ready.
Docking station 1-4, 500 feet below.
Good news, that is not a docking station. So there's one mystery solved. I'm going to attempt a manual override
On
on
the
this
wall.
wall. Could get a bit technical. Hold on.
I love how much
Almost there.
the player is thrown
Remember,
around.
you're looking for a gun that makes holes. Not bullet holes, but don't worry, you'll figure it out. Seriously, do hold on this time.
Straight away.
There we go. Now, I'll be honest, you are probably in no fit state to run this particular type of cognitive gauntlet. But
You're good at jumping.
at least you're a good jumper. So you got that. You got the jumping on your side. Just do your best, and I'll meet you up ahead.
Alrighty, let's listen to this.
The container ride destruction sequence provided some unique technical challenges. The dynamics you experience are actually computed as two separate but nested simulations. The first is a core scale simulation designed as a stress element analysis pass.
Yeah.
This pass computes the overall gross motion of the container itself and computes the collisions and breakpoints based on path keyframe data and a network of constraints. As the container bumps and crashes along, the constraints start breaking and the room progressively starts to come apart. There are over 300 rigid bodies and 900 constraints in this rig, all individually configured for properties like tensile, friction, and collision response. The core simulation portrayed gross motion that captured the main dynamics of the ride, but not the fine details. The product of the core simulation was then used to deform spline-based surfaces representing the container geometry, which in turn were parents to fine debris anchored as rigid bodies. As the surface deformations increase, anchors are broken and the fine debris rigid bodies are released into the simulation. The fine simulation also includes the interior furniture and the model detailing. The two simulations were then connected using cache data and were driven together by a series of scripts. Due to the computational complexities of having two nested simulations, we had to come up with some solutions to some interesting mathematical problems. One problem was that the nested nature of the simulations resulted in some instability in the fine debris calculations due to floating point computational limits. The solution employed for this was to compute the fine debris on a stage where the root transform of the coarse simulation was essentially cancelled out and stored for later use. This allowed us to more accurately detect the fine interactions between the debris and the environment. Post-simulation, the root transform position and inertia were reapplied to the details. We solved the problem of trying to compute the player within this highly dynamic environment by putting them in a virtual room that has all the base shapes of the rendered container, but is simply used to compute player navigation. It's hidden somewhere else in the map. The viewpoint of the player is then parented to the coarse simulation transform, resulting in the final rendered frame. At the end of the ride, the player is teleported into the actual game space. The simulations were iterative, enabling us to sculpt the dynamics in parallel with gameplay design. In the final product there are over 1,200 rigid bodies, 900 constraints and 1,000 joints. With all the iterations combined, the actual runtime spent computing the simulation was 92.4875 days.
That's insane. I actually did talk about that last time I recorded this. The last recording, by the way, failed. But yeah, I talked about
That's
that.
the spirit.
That was the sort of true... I jumped just then and he said, that's the spirit. Yeah, so I talked about it, but of course he talks in full jargon mode. I didn't understand half of that, even though I'm in that field and I do work in that field. Yeah, so essentially this whole thing was pre-simulated to some degree, and the player doesn't actually stand in the box. They're in a different box that is much simpler for the player, you know, for the game to compute like how the player should interact with the elements in the room. And then you're just teleported. You're essentially a camera inside this room, and the player is actually in a dark room somewhere elsewhere. But yeah, anyway, let's get moving.
Hello, and again, welcome to the Aperture Science Enrichment Center.
Yeah.
We are
Does
currently
this look
experiencing
familiar?
technical difficulties due to circumstances of potentially apocalyptic significance beyond our control. However,
I would
thanks
hope it
to
does.
emergency testing protocols, testing can continue. These pre-recorded messages will provide instructional and motivational support so that science can still be done, even in the event of environmental, social, economic, or structural collapse. The portal will open, and emergency testing will begin in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, they utilized the same exact room, pretty much, almost exactly the same room in Portal 1, to once again show off the player going through the portal trick that they did in the original. I think it's a good use of that explanation. Can you put this down here? No. Okay, I'm just being silly. Alrighty. Get the same room
Button-based testing
again.
remains an important tool for science, even in a dire emergency. If cube and button-based testing caused this emergency, don't worry. The odds of this happening twice are very slim.
I think I might have accidentally skipped a dialogue piece there. Not a node, but just the announcer was about to say something, and then he got cut off.
If you feel liquid running down your neck, relax, lie on your back, and apply immediate pressure to your temples. You are simply experiencing a rare reaction in which the material emancipation grill may have emancipated the ear tubes inside your head.
Yeah, that was an extension of a joke from the first game where GLaDOS informs you that the emancipation grids, whatever, can sometimes emancipate your dental things, teeth, crowns, whatever. So they extended it to ear tubes in your head. That's kind of disturbing to me. But yeah, I remember last time I talked about this room. This will say that exactly.
This room
pretty
is
much the
meant
same
to
thing.
teach players the fundamentals of portals, connecting them to two places in the world. As the blue portal moves around the world, the orange stays rooted. In the original portal, this room had these portals moving by themselves on a timer. This led to most people simply staring through their orange portal, waiting for the blue one to end up in the right place. We felt that altering this to make the players decide where the portals came out was more instructive, and meant that players who already knew how to use portals could solve this puzzle both quickly and with authority.
Yeah.
Good. Because of the technical difficulties we are currently experiencing, your test environment is unsupervised. Before re-entering a relaxation vault at the conclusion of testing, please take a moment to write down the results of your test. An Aperture Science Reintegration Associate will revive you for an interview when society has been rebuilt.
I like that Aperture Science tries to get you to do your own testing. Tries, gets you to do your own reporting. But interesting note there, yeah. I remember when I heard that note, and I totally agreed that when I first played Portal 1, I didn't know the structure of the
Earth is
room.
currently governed by a manner of animal king, sentient cloud, or other governing body that either refuses to or is incapable of listening to it.
Yeah. When I first played Portal 1, and even a long time into playing Portal 1, I never knew the structure of that first room. I just did exactly what he said and just stood right next to the orange portal and stared through it to see what room it would show up on. So that the change that they made was very, in my opinion,
you made it.
very good.
There should be a portal
Yeah.
device on that podium over there.
So, same room as from Portal 1
Can't see
again,
it though. Maybe it fell off.
but the
Do you
wall's
want to go have a quick
broken,
look?
and the portal gun is missing. It's on the same
alright, we'll go
stand,
just-
but it's
Oh!
missing.
Hello? Can you see the portal gun?
And more importantly,
So, are you alive? That's important. Should have asked that first. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to work on the assumption that you're still alive, and I'm just going to wait for you up ahead.
Yeah.
I'll wait 1 hour, then I'll come back, and assuming I can locate your dead body, I'll bury you. All
Yeah.
right? Brilliant.
So,
Go team.
first
See you in an hour, hopefully. If you're not dead.
Ratman Den, essentially. And we see what amounts to a shrine to Shell, to you. It shows some of the examples. Actually, I'm gonna just let this guy talk because he'll probably explain it all.
We thought of making a whole new character for Portal 2, but we didn't want to lose the relationship between GLaDOS and Shell that began in Portal 1. Once we decided to stay with Shell, we wanted to improve her look, updating her leg springs and jumpsuit to have a more functional design. At the same time, we didn't want players to not recognize her, so we kept a lot of the iconic elements like the color orange. She has folded down her jumpsuit to show she has essentially rolled up her sleeves and shed some of the Aperture label. She is awake again to test, but stronger and more determined than ever.
Yeah, so I remember they were originally toying with a lot of different designs for Shell. I refer to her as Shell, by the way. I'm just so used to calling her Shell, not Chell. Each to their own, basically. I say Shell like you would say, oh. Yeah, so I say Shell like you would say Rochelle, like the name Rochelle. But yeah, that's just me. Anyway, yeah, so this room is like a little narrative, some of the backstory to Portal 1, and then some of the story of Portal 1 to your leading up to Portal 2. Yeah, the scientists like building GLaDOS going haywire, and everyone dying, choking to death, like this guy here. I keep wanting to point to the screen, but yeah. And then people, of course, falling in love with or starting to worship the companion cube. And then you got, of course, this is pretty much a summation, if you will, of Portal 1. You know, GLaDOS offering cake, and you, or to you, and you sort of outwitting her with the portal gun. This is you, like, climbing up her. And then you in stasis. Basically the start of this game. Anyway, we'll get on with it. Yeah.
Some emergency testing may require prolonged interaction with lethal military androids. Rest assured that all lethal military androids have been taught to read and provided with one copy of the Laws of Robotics to share. Good. If you feel that a lethal military android has not respected your rights as detailed in the Laws of Robotics, please note it on your self-reporting form. A future Aperture Science Entitlement Associate will initiate the appropriate grievance filing paperwork.
Yeah, so this is a recreation of the classic chamber puzzle that's supposed to teach you that you can go through you can use the blue and orange portals, you know, equally. You can go through an orange to get to a blue, and through a blue to get to an orange. Yeah, just of course altered to match the new style and the destruction and everything. Yeah, let's move on.
This next test is very dangerous. To help you remain tranquil in the face of almost certain death, smooth jazz will be deployed in 3, 2, 1.
I've got a story for this one. Yeah. So this story isn't about Portal 1 or 2, but in our game, when we made Portal Unity, our mod, something interesting we added in, something that we thought would be funny, was if in a particular chamber, Hades, our version of GLaDOS, essentially you just walk into a chamber and he would be playing smooth jazz, and throughout the chamber you'd be listening to smooth jazz as you solved a, you know, solved the puzzle, got your way through a level. So when we played Portal 2 and there was this reference to smooth jazz, like we never mentioned smooth jazz in the game, but we always referred to it as smooth jazz. We even had the like jazzy music on the radio at the start of our game. The fact that there was a smooth jazz reference in Portal 2 blew our minds. Like we were like, what? Is you know, just so unexpected.
This map was one of the first of the older Portal maps that we beat up and decayed to bind the two games together. The smooth jazz joke is probably the oldest one in the game. The team discovered through playtesting that smooth jazz was funny to all ages, genders, and cultures.
So yeah, like we made the joke as well, and we came up with it relatively early on when we were making our mod, but Portal 2 would have been in development for some time by the time we made ours. So I'm sure smooth jazz was it wasn't a new joke when you used it. But we got our mod out before they released Portal 2, so we beat them to that punch. Yeah. These are all classic chambers, just sort of destroyed.
Starting out in the ruins of the test chambers from the first Portal was our goal pretty much from day one. We wanted to give players a sense of nostalgia for what they had played, but also make it very clear that things had changed. Not only in a fictional sense, but in a graphical one as well. We needed to bridge the gap between the first game's simpler art assets and the much more complex look of Portal 2.
Yeah.
Great work. Because this message is pre-recorded, any observations related to your performance are speculation on our part. Please disregard any undeserved compliments.
I actually love this whole glass breaks when you fall through it, like fall down like that. I feel like there was something that we had done in our mod. Originally we'd planned to do something like that, but we never implemented it. Yeah, one of the earlier, like, Ratman Den type places with some stuff scribbled all over the wall. I'm talking a lot less than the usual video, but that's purely because I think there's enough talking already with the Valve developers talking about the game, so I think I'll leave most of the talking to them. But I'll add my 2 cents wherever applicable. Or
if the Enrichment Center is currently being bombarded with fireballs, meteorites, or other objects from space, please avoid unsheltered testing areas wherever a lack of shelter from space debris does not appear to be a deliberate part of the test.
The idea that dodging space debris could be a part of the test. Oh dear. Alrighty, let's just try and complete this. I don't see any nodes around, so I'll just go about our business. Yeah. Relatively simple. Oh, seize. Yep.
Well done.
I like
The Enrichment Center reminds you that although circumstances may appear bleak, you are not alone. All Aperture Science personality constructs will remain functional in apocalyptic, low-power environments of as few as 1.1 volts.
Yeah, so this is actually one of my favorite. I actually really like this chamber. I don't know if it's a bit of an overstatement saying it's one of my favorites, but I love the layout. Everything except for maybe that corner. That corner's a bit obstructed, but yeah, I like the lighting, layout, and everything. It's really nicely done. One of the first of the new chambers, of course.
This next test applies the principles of momentum to movement through portals. If the laws of physics no longer apply in the future,
may God help you. Damn, there we go. Yeah, breaking the security cameras. Yeah, anyway. Yeah. Yep, so it's just down here. Get the box. Oh. Yeah, the box went the same distance.
If you are a non-employee who has discovered this facility amid the ruins of civilization, welcome. And remember, testing is the future. And the future starts with you.
Much of the fun in Portal is based on the joy of the aha moment when you learn something new. The game needs a very specific pacing to ensure these moments. If things are too easy, then you're robbed of that moment since it feels like you didn't accomplish anything. If it's too hard, then players feel stupid instead of smart when they finally realize that one small part of the puzzle that they were missing. Unfortunately, trying to create that delicate balance leads to a lot of shuffling of levels and a lot of revisions and tweaks to existing levels. When we started the project, making any big structural change in a level, or the order of levels, would lead to hours or even days of busy work, trying to reconnect things and make sure they lined up again.
Yeah.
If we ever wanted to ship something the size of Portal, with the finely tuned balance we desired, then we needed a way to be able to make the big changes to the layout of the game, without paying the cost of making everything line up again. We needed a way to bend space. We needed to think with portals. Using portals to connect different areas in the world, we could make any type of impossible space work out. You could look through a hallway into the next room, but the hallway might be on the other side of the map, and the room you were looking into might be in a completely different orientation.
Yeah.
We could seamlessly insert an elevator, a huge expansive vista, a room that was bigger on the inside than the outside, or even create an infinite fall by connecting a shaft back into itself. Soon every connection between any space was a portal. We could even switch them on the fly. Even a simple door worked like the cartoons, just a facade painted on a wall that seamlessly opened somewhere else entirely.
Yeah.
Once the game settled down, we were able to finalize our path and remove all the world portals. There's only one impossible space left in the whole game. See if you can figure out where it is.
Yeah, I know where it is. I remember seeing where it was. When I first heard that developer commentary, I thought he was actually referring to the moment where you're in. Where does that open up? There. When you're at the very final level, when you're fighting the boss, the opening to the roof to the moon. I thought he was referring to that for some reason. While that is definitely kind of an impossibility, a little bit of a loophole in the story, sort of thing. The actual truth. When I get to it in this playthrough, I will point it out. Anyway, so yeah, let's get going. I don't know if there's any other developer commentary nodes in this level, so I'll just complete it as per normal. Whee. Yeah, I think you just need to. Well, I'll put it up there because I know I'm gonna need it up there soon. Whee! Slam face first into the wall. I always love that. It's just like,
Good work getting
Straight
this
to the
far,
wall.
future starter. That said, if you are simple-minded, bold, or irradiated in such a way that the future should not start with you, please return to your primitive tribe and send back someone better qualified for testing.
If you are old or irradiated in such a way that the future should not start with you.
To ensure that sufficient power remains for core testing protocols, all safety devices have been disabled. The Enrichment Center respects your right to have questions or concerns about this policy.
That's another extension of a Portal 1 joke about, GLaDOS mentions that the alarms and flashing hazard lights have been disabled for the high energy pallets, I think they call them. And so, yeah, it's an extension there.
I'm up here! Oh, brilliant! You did find a portal gun! Oh, do you know what? It just goes to show people with brain damage are
They're
the real
heroes
in the
here.
end, aren't they, at the end of the day? Brave. pop a portal on that wall behind me there,
I'm
and
gonna
I'll meet
piss
you on
him
the
off
other side of the
by
room.
listening to this.
This interaction with Wheatley was the first that we hooked up for our initial showing at E3. It demonstrated how Wheatley would be an actor in the world, and how the player would not only be interacting with him directly, but also using him to interact with the Aperture facility.
Yeah. Nicely put.
Okay, listen, let me lay something on you here. It's pretty heavy. They told me never, never, ever to disengage myself from my management rail, or I would die. But we're out of options here, so get ready to catch me, alright, on the off chance that I'm not dead the moment I pop off this thing. On 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. That's high. It's too high. Isn't
Too
it really
high.
That? All right, going on 3 just gives you too much time to think about it. Let's go on 1 this time. Okay,
It
ready?
always annoyed me you can't
1.
catch
That's
him
me,
here.
Ow! Ow!
If I stood... Last time I stood directly underneath him and he actually bounces
I'm
off
not
of you.
dead. I'm not dead. Plug me into that stick on the wall over there, yeah, and I'll show you something. You'll be impressed by this.
I love this bit as well.
Yeah, I can't do it if you're watching.
If you just stare at him, he's
Seriously,
just
I'm
like...
not joking. Could you just turn around for a second?
No. he'll be like, please.
I can't do it if you're watching. All right, you can turn around now. Bam! Secret panel.
Yep, I'll leave him on the floor just for now while I listen to
Pick me
this
up.
one.
The Wheatley model was designed as a mechanical version of the original Portal 1 personality sphere. Originally, they filled a very similar role to that in Portal 1, so we needed one base model which could hold a lot of different expressions. Experimenting with different rigging ideas, we came up with the onion skin design, where a number of spherical plates could slide around inside each other, all
Yeah.
supported on a small motion platform mounted
Very
on a
well-
gyroscope.
Very well designed.
This
in my
meant that no matter what expression Wheatley was pulling, he always retained his spherical shape. The modelers and the animators collaborated closely on these early tests to make sure the design supported the range of expression needed to satisfy any personality sphere that got designed. Lots of ideas were thrown out, such as a small internal robot arm that Wheatley could pull out of one of his ports and pull himself around with. We were careful to make the mechanics look plausible, but we had to cheat the eyelids, since they ended up being a physical impossibility. There was no way all that geometry could fit into the space around his eye without clipping out the other side, but they were such an essential feature of the model that we resorted to crushing them up inside the eye, where the player can't see them.
They could have probably done a multi-layered eyelid, but maybe that wouldn't have looked very nice. No, all good.
Look at this. No rail to tell us where to go. Oh, this is brilliant. We can go wherever we want. Just hold on though. Where are we going? Seriously.
I love how you can,
get
like,
my bearings.
Turn around.
Just follow the rail, actually.
Not on rails, but just follow the rail.
How do you make a giant mechanical eyeball express life and emotions, let alone give the impression that he's talking when he has no mouth? The animator's understanding of human behavior came in handy for bringing Wheatley the personality sphere to life.
Yeah.
Talking is so much more than just moving a character's mouth.
Yeah,
You
this
have to
node's
use
making
body
him
language,
animate.
head attitudes, and rhythm of movement and eye focus to indicate a character's feelings and motivations. Slow, smooth head moves, a steady gaze, and a relaxed eye aperture indicate that Wheatley is calm. Short, sharp head turns, rapid blinks, and glancing around indicate nervousness or deceit. Add a tightly constricted eye aperture and a little shiver to show fear.
Yeah.
Tilting the body away while keeping the eye focused on the player signals an attempt at cleverness that ultimately only fools Wheatley himself. Suspicion is communicated by squinting his eyelids and handles, which function as very expressive eyebrows and cheeks. It's also fun to remind the player that Wheatley is a machine. When hacking, his eye and body segments become perfectly centered and spin mechanically, inspired by the spinning tape reels on old UNIVAC computers. And when he wants to look far in front, he flips his eye all the way over to the other side of his head. This animation approach, combined with the writing and vocals, makes Wheatley quite a unique and entertaining character. Part human, part machine, all eye, and no brain.
He's like, "Rrrr, how dare you say that?" I love the animation for the personality spheres. I think they're geniuses. The way they did it, the way they executed it, very good.
No. Yes. Hello. No, we're not stopping. Don't make eye contact, whatever you do. No, thanks, we're good. Appreciate it.
I like how
keep moving.
he treats him like a vagrant. Hello, hello. Yeah, that's one of my favorite of the nodes that you can listen to. That woman talking about the animations.
Probably ought to bring you up to speed on something right now. In order to escape, we're going to have to go through her chamber. And she will probably
this
kill
should
us
look familiar.
if she's awake. If you want to just call it quits, and we could just sit here forever, that's an option. Option A, sit here, do nothing. Option B, go through there, and if she's alive, she'll almost certainly kill us.
Okay. I wasn't sure if he had
I'm
anything
gonna lay my
else to
cards
say.
on the table. I don't want to do it. I don't want to go in there. Don't go in there. She's off. She's off. Don't panic over. She's off. All fine. Oh my god. There she is. What a nasty piece of work she was, honestly. Like a proper maniac. Do you know who ended up taking her down in the end? You're not going to believe this. A human. I know. I wouldn't have believed it either. Apparently this human escaped and nobody's seen him since.
I love that
There was a sort of long chunk of time where absolutely nothing happened. And then there's us escaping now. So that's pretty much the whole story. You're up to speed. Yeah. Don't touch anything.
I love how Wheatley is not apparently not aware of the fact that you're the fabled defeater of GLaDOS.
Originally, GLaDOS was built to curl up and disguise herself as one of her rings, potentially explaining how she had survived the explosion at the end of Portal 1. But this wasn't a very dramatic reveal, so we threw it out in favor of spreading her out over a greater distance. This also made her more recognizable as GLaDOS when you initially crossed the room. The actual wake-up animation was a combination of simulated animation with a layer of hand-keyed animation over the top. A two-stage model was created for this scene. The first stage had separate pieces and connecting cables that would be drawn together by running a physics simulation so that the pieces would interact with the environment. Physics simulations were also used to break apart the objects GLaDOS crashed into while she writhes around. At the point where GLaDOS rises free of contact with the ground, she switches instantaneously to a fully connected model with controls for hand-keyed animation. From this point, the animator enhanced GLaDOS's awakening by hand, choreographing the violent chaos of her re-emerging consciousness, while at the same time conveying the weight of a machine the size of an airliner. Once the hand-keyed animation was done, a final simulation pass was run to animate the cables and dangling parts of GLaDOS's body. The scene was produced very rapidly for an E3 deadline, and a traditional rig for the sequence was never fully realized. This made it difficult when we extended the sequence after E3 to add further animation, but we accomplished it by bearing in mind that GLaDOS herself is pretty broken at this point. The last part of the sequence requires the player to lose control of their view while being immobilized by a giant mechanical pincher. Once the controlled camera takes over, a careful alignment and time synchronization was required to make all the hand-animated models and camera interact with each other. Each of the stages in this wake-up scene contain a variety of processes that are very challenging to achieve live in a game engine.
Yeah, so the stuff we saw in the original demo at E3 was sort of like the stuff they'd cobbled together really quickly. And the final version was sort of altered. And of course this is the fated incinerator that we all utilized to kill GLaDOS in the first game.
Okay, down these stairs. Jump! Actually, looking at it, that's quite a distance, isn't it? Okay, you know what? Go ahead and jump. You've got braces on your legs, so you're all set. Although no braces on your arms, though. So you're going to have to rely on the old human strength to keep a grip on the device, and by extension, me. So do really make sure you keep a grip on me. Also, a note: no braces on your spine either. So don't land on that. Or your head. No braces there. That could split like a melon from this height. So do definitely focus on landing with your legs. Can I, quick question, have you been working out? Because, I'll be honest, there's no evidence of it. You know, I'm not like... Ah! Oh, still being held. That's a great job. You've applied the grit, we're all fine. That's tremendous.
Tremendous. Oh dear.
I just looked down. I do not recommend it. I've just done it again.
You've done it again. This video is mostly going to be me laughing at
the main
Wheatley.
breaker room. Look for a switch that says escape pod. Alright, don't touch anything else. Not interested in anything else. Don't touch anything else.
Don't even look at
anything else. Just, well, obviously you've got to look at everything else to find the escape pod. But as soon as you look at something and it doesn't say escape pod, look at something else. Look at the next thing. Alright, but don't touch anything else or look at anything. Well, look at other things, but don't. You understand. Can you see it anywhere? I can't see it anywhere. Tell you what, plug me in and I'll turn the lights on. Let there be light. That's God. Just quoting God. Oh, look at that! Turning. Ominous. But probably fine. As long as it doesn't start, moving up. Now. Escape pod. It's moving up. Okay. No, don't worry. I've got it. This should slow it down.
No, it speeds it up.
It makes it go faster.
Power up initiated.
Okay, don't panic. All right, stop panicking. I can still.
Originally,
just checking to make sure
okay, it's fine.
that was the only node here.
A. C. Wait, did I do B? Start writing these down.
Power up complete.
I don't. Okay, listen. All right, new plan. Act natural. We've done nothing wrong. Hello.
Oh, it's you.
You know her?
It's been a long time. How have you been? I've been really busy being dead. You know, after you murdered me.
You did what?
Yeah, this part.
Oh no! Oh no!
Okay, look, we both said a lot of things
Shivering.
that you're going to regret. But I think we can put our differences behind us. For science, you monster.
That was
I will say, though, that since you went to all the trouble of waking me up, you must really love to test. I love it too. There's just one small thing we need to take care of first.
I love that she drops you down the same inferno, or the same furnace that she was dropped down. I love that she does that, like a metaphoric killing you, the same way you killed her. But yeah, Wheatley was actually supposed to die in that scene originally. I think they might mention it in the commentary coming up. See, I've read so much elsewhere about the game that I don't know what's in the commentary and what's not.
Here we are, the incinerator room. Be careful not to trip over any parts of me that didn't get completely burned when you threw them down here. The dual portal device should be around here somewhere. Once you find it, we can start testing, just like old time.
Yeah, so I think I'll leave that here. I'll pick up right here, right where we left off for the next video. Yeah, I think. Oh, one last thing I'll mention before we go. Yeah, so originally you were going to be dealing with a lot of different personality cores, and each one was sort of going to help guide you. You had to basically interact with it to get through a certain section of the game, and there was going to be like, I don't know, 5 different cores that you had to utilize throughout the game. But for reasons that I'm sure that they'll explain later on, they ended up cutting that, and some of the cores were reused for the final boss, like the space core that's become so popular. That was originally going to have its own section of the game, essentially. There was going to be a whole section of the game where you were dealing with the space core. But yeah, so anyway, I'll leave that there. If you like what you saw, hit like. If you want to see more from me, or if you want to see the rest of the series, hit subscribe. That way you can keep up with my videos. Yeah, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for watching, and as always,